the risk of sounding pessimistic, if there's a negative side to Sabrina Ionescu's record-setting performance in the three-point contest of the WNBA All-Star game, it is that Sami Whitcomb's impressive showing has gone overlooked. Nevertheless, there's a lot we can learn from her great form, so let's dive right in. As we look at her base and her lift, we note that Sami Whitcomb's feet are pointed very straight ahead of her, very much toward the hoop. While many shooters will have their feet pointed to the left of the target, Whitcomb tends to point straight at where she's aiming. However, it's also important to note that her feet are still staggered so that her shoulders have some offset to them. She's not square to the hoop with her feet equidistant from the target. Her left foot is pulled back of her right foot. They're just both pointed straight ahead. It's also noteworthy that she doesn't have very much lift in her shot. Her right foot goes forward as she shoots, but her left foot actually pivots back a little bit, and her feet don't get too far off the ground. Whitcomb also has a very upright posture as she shoots. Her shoulders are lined up with her hips. As she gets farther into her shot, she tilts at the waist and her shoulders go toward the hoop slightly, adding some power, which does help to compensate for the lack of lift from her legs. One of the most interesting things about Whitcomb's shot is her shot pocket. Everything is very nicely lined up. She has her wrist over her elbow, which is in line with her shoulder and above her knee. It's very much a straight line as she shoots, which takes out a lot of the misses from left to right. Her elbow is fairly low as she goes up to shoot. Instead of having a 90-degree shot pocket, it's more like a 70-degree shot pocket. Starting from this point and reaching full extension gives her shot some extra power. This is why she's able to make some of those longer shots look effortless. One other interesting thing to note with this shot pocket is the way that Whitcomb begins with her hand off to the side of the ball on the way up. Her right hand is not directly under the ball when she starts into her shot. She actually slides her right hand under late in the process. This is very important because her entire form is based on the idea that everything is perfectly lined up and that she just has to repeat it in a straight line in order to make her shot. Everything is in line with her right shoulder, her right knee, her right elbow, and if she didn't shift the ball to where her wrist was directly underneath it, it would not be as consistent a shot as she currently has it. As we've seen before in Sabrina Ionescu's shot, it's hard to tell if Sami Whitcomb is using her left thumb in her shot when we watch it in real time. However, when we slow it down, we once again see that there's no real help coming from her left thumb. She does take her left thumb off the ball fairly late in the process. Her guide hand does travel with the ball for a long way. However, it does not appear that that left thumb is helping the ball get to the basket. The left hand is really serving as the guide hand, even though that left thumb ends up pointed near to the hoop. As we look at her release point, it's important to note that the ball comes off of her middle finger. This is a good, consistent option for shooting the ball. As long as that ball stays on her middle finger and doesn't reach over to her ring finger, she's going to be able to put a very consistent and smooth spin on her shot. As she releases the ball, we can see that her arm is about at a 45-degree angle. A lot of times, set shooters will have the tendency to push the ball out in front of them and have a very low release point. However, Whitcomb does not do that. Her shot is released at 45 degrees and has a great arc for a set shot. A lot of the time, it actually looks like her hands are facing each other after she's released it, as if her left hand is going toward her right hand and her right hand is going toward her left hand. But in actuality, when she releases the ball, we can see that she actually snaps her hand down with textbook follow-through before she turns it in toward her left hand. This is important for all of you shooters out there because you don't want your hand to be going in. That would affect the rotation significantly. However, it really doesn't matter how your form looks after the ball is gone. The fact she's released it and then turns her hand to the left has no effect on whether or not a shot is going to fall, which is probably why Whitcomb is never worried about changing this. Her mechanics are fantastic up until the ball is released. If her hand looks like it's pointed in at the end, it really doesn't matter. An obvious sign that her follow-through is strong is the way that the ball rotates in the air. She has perfect end-over-end rotation with a very high spin rate. It's exactly what you want to see in a shot. It's pretty clear from this rotation that she has everything else very mechanically sound. Her left thumb looking like it's helping obviously isn't, or the ball wouldn't spin like this. The wrist looking as though it's turned in is obviously happening after the ball is away, because she wouldn't have rotation like this if her hand was turning in at the release point. While I wouldn't suggest that young hoopers try to emulate Sami Whitcomb's hygiene practices, her shot mechanics are a great template. Because she has everything lined up, wrist, elbow, shoulder, knee, she's going to miss left and right very infrequently. Additionally, when she's tired at the end of a game, because it's more of a set shot, she's not going to miss short because her legs aren't playing that big a role. She may have been outshone by teammate Jewell Loyd's MVP-winning performance in the actual All-Star game, and by Ionescu's round for the ages in the finals. But Sami Whitcomb should be very proud of both the way she performed at All-Star Weekend and of the fruits of her labor with this shooting form.